You ever notice how fast people lose respect for someone? The moment they explode, think about it, maybe it was a friend, a boss, a parent, or even you. 1 second they were in control and the next they were yelling, throwing words around they couldn't take back, looking weak instead of strong. And what happened after? People stopped listening. People pulled back, respect was gone. Here's the truth. The moment you can't control your emotions, you hand over your power. You let everyone around you know exactly how to push you, how to break you, how to own you. And in this world, the second someone realizes they can control you by pushing your buttons, you've already lost. Respect doesn't come from being the loudest person in the room. It doesn't come from proving a point by screaming. And it doesn't come from showing everybody how upset you are. Respect comes from silence, from composure, from standing there completely in control when the storm is raging, and refusing to let anyone pull you into it. I'm going to tell you something that most people don't want to hear. Nobody respects the person who can't control themselves. Because if you can't master your emotions, you can't master your life. And if you can't master your life, why would anyone else trust you, follow you, or take you seriously? Today, I want you to imagine something. Imagine how different your life would look if nothing and no one could make you lose your cool. If insults bounced off you, if pressure didn't break you, if anger didn't control you, but instead fueled you, strategically, quietly, powerfully. That version of you, that's someone who commands respect without even asking for it. And by the end of this, you'll understand exactly why controlling your emotions isn't just about staying calm, it's about becoming untouchable. We've all been told at some point in our lives to control our emotions. Usually it sounds like a cliche, something teachers, parents, or bosses say when we're upset, frustrated, or angry. But I want you to really think about what that means. Control. Not suppression, not pretending, not burying how you feel. True control, because here's the reality. Emotion is not weakness. Emotion is power, but only when you know how to direct it, to master it, to make it serve you instead of destroy you. Think about fire. Fire has the ability to burn entire cities to the ground, but it also has the power to give light, to keep you warm, to cook your food, to keep you alive in the darkest night. Fire itself isn't the problem, it's how it's used. The same is true for your emotions. Your anger, your sadness, your passion, your excitement, your fear, all of it has power, raw energy. But if you can't control it, if you can't put it to work, it turns into chaos, and chaos never earns respect. Look at the people you admire most, the ones you respect, without them ever asking for it. Do they fly off the handle at every little thing? Do they lose control when someone insults them? Do they crumble when things don't go their way? No, they are composed, they are steady, even in the middle of a crisis. They are calm, measured, deliberate. That's what makes them powerful. That's what makes others lean in and listen. People don't respect chaos. They respect composure. The mistake so many people make is believing that showing emotion is the same as showing strength. They think yelling louder makes them more convincing. They think crying in front of everyone makes them seem real. They think slamming their hand on the table proves authority. But the truth, every time you let your emotions spill out in ways you can't control, you lose a piece of your credibility. Because people are watching, they're assessing you. And when they see you can't even manage yourself, they know they can't trust you to manage anything bigger. Now, don't misunderstand me. This doesn't mean you should be emotionless. This doesn't mean you walk around like a robot. No, your emotions are vital. They make you human. They give you drive. They give you passion. The key is learning how to channel them instead of being consumed by them. Take anger, for example. Anger is one of the most destructive emotions if you let it run unchecked. How many fights, broken relationships, and ruined careers come from one angry outburst? How many people have destroyed everything they worked for in 10 seconds because they couldn't keep their temper in check? But when anger is controlled, when it's harnessed, it becomes fuel. It becomes motivation. That fire that could burn down your life instead becomes the fire that pushes you to build, to fight smarter, to outlast everyone else. Controlled anger becomes determination. The same is true for fear. Fear can paralyze you, make you doubt yourself, make you retreat when you should be moving forward. But fear is also information. Fear shows you what matters. Fear highlights the areas where growth is possible. When you learn to control fear, you don't let it stop you. You let it guide you. You acknowledge it, you face it, and then you move anyway. That's real courage. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the control of fear. Respect is born when people see you taking your emotions, whatever they are, and mastering them. Think about someone who's under immense pressure. Maybe it's an athlete with the entire stadium watching. Maybe it's a leader during a crisis. Maybe it's a parent holding their family together when everything seems to be falling apart. When you watch them stay steady, composed, in control, you feel respect because deep down, you know how hard that is to do. Now let me ask you this. How many times have you lost respect for someone because they couldn't manage themselves? Maybe it was a coworker who complained every single day, making the entire office miserable. Maybe it was a leader who screamed at people when things went wrong instead of leading with clarity. Maybe it was someone in your life who constantly played the victim, drowning in self-pity. What happened to the way you viewed them? Their lack of control chipped away at their authority, didn't it? That's the cost of emotional chaos. This is why I tell you emotion is power, but raw power with no control is dangerous, even self-destructive. The strongest people you will ever meet aren't the ones who never feel anything. They're the ones who feel everything, but don't let it run the show. They know when to speak, when to stay silent, when to fight, and when to walk away. They aren't ruled by emotion. They rule it. And here's where it gets interesting. When you control your emotions, people don't just respect you. They trust you. They rely on you because they know you're steady. You're not going to collapse under pressure. You're not going to turn on them because you got offended or upset. You become dependable. And in a world full of unpredictable, reactive people, being dependable makes you stand out. So if you want respect in your life, start here. Don't look for it in how loud you can be or how much you can show off. Don't chase it through anger or emotional outbursts. Respect doesn't live there. Respect lives in control, in calm, in restraint. The person who can walk into chaos and remain steady is the one everyone looks to, the one everyone follows, the one everyone respects. Because at the end of the day, your emotions are not your enemy. They are your greatest weapon. But a weapon left unchecked can kill you. A weapon mastered can protect you, empower you, and build everything you want. The choice is simple. You can let your emotions control you, or you can control them. And if you ever want to be respected, if you ever want people to look at you and see strength, you already know which choice you have to make. Have you ever realized how predictable people can be? How easy it is to get a reaction out of someone once you know what sets them off. You press one button and they explode. You make one comment and suddenly they lose control. It's like having a remote in your hand. You push and they dance. And here's the uncomfortable truth. When you're that easy to provoke, you're not in control. Somebody else is. You've handed them the keys to your mind, your mood, and your actions. That's why emotional reactivity is one of the fastest ways to lose respect. Because it doesn't just show weakness, it shows that anyone can control you if they know where your buttons are. Think about it. If I can make you angry with one insult, who really has the power, you or me? If I can frustrate you so much that you make a rash decision, who's actually in charge of your choices? If I can embarrass you in front of a group by making you overreact, who's controlling the narrative? Not you. Every time you react emotionally without thinking, you give someone else the upper hand. And once people know you're reactive, they will use it against you consciously or unconsciously because humans test each other. That's just what we do. In life, people are always watching. At work, in relationships, even with strangers, you're constantly being assessed. The moment someone realizes you're reactive, they start to categorize you as unstable, unreliable, or immature. They may not even say it out loud, but trust me, they feel it. They see you as someone they can manipulate, someone they can push around, someone who can be easily broken down. And here's the thing, respect and manipulation cannot coexist. If I can manipulate you, I don't respect you. Period. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're in a heated conversation at work. Someone criticizes your idea in front of the team. You feel that surge of heat in your chest, that rush of anger, ready to burst out. If you snap back, raise your voice, or get defensive, what happens? For a brief moment, maybe you feel like you stood up for yourself. But what's the lasting impression? Everyone remembers the outburst. Everyone remembers how you lost control, your credibility slips, and the respect you worked for erodes. But if you pause, breathe, and respond calmly, you flip the entire dynamic. Instead of being baited into chaos, you show composure. And suddenly the person who tried to undermine you looks small, while you look untouchable. This is the difference between people who are respected and people who are used. Those who react emotionally to every situation are used by others, used for entertainment, used as scapegoats, used as pawns. Those who control their emotions become leaders because no one can shake them. People respect stability. They respect the one who can't be manipulated. Now let's talk about relationships. How many relationships fall apart, not because of lack of love, but because of constant emotional reactivity? A careless word, a forgotten detail, a small mistake, boom, it turns into a fight, then another fight, then resentment, then distance, and before long, the relationship is broken. Not because the love wasn't real, but because one or both people couldn't control their emotional reactions. Respect in relationships doesn't come from always agreeing or never having conflict. It comes from how you manage yourself in those conflicts. If every disagreement turns into an emotional war, respect dies. But if you can remain calm, if you can listen without exploding, if you can think before you respond, respect grows, even in the hardest moments. Here's the secret. Emotional reactivity is predictable, and predictable people are easy to control. If I know you always get jealous when someone else succeeds, I can manipulate you by flaunting my wins. If I know you always get insecure when you're criticized, I can control you by throwing small jabs. If I know you always get angry when someone disrespects you, I can bait you into losing your temper and looking like the fool. That's how people lose jobs, lose relationships, and lose opportunities. Not because they weren't talented, not because they weren't capable, but because they were predictable and reactive. The strongest people, the ones who earn deep respect, are the ones you can't read like a book. You can't tell if they're angry or if they're calm because they stay steady. You can't figure out what rattles them because nothing seems to. You can't manipulate them because they're not giving you access to their emotions. That's intimidating. That's powerful. That's what commands respect. Now, I want you to picture two different versions of yourself. One version gets triggered by everything. Someone cuts you off in traffic, you explode. Someone criticizes you, you lash out. Someone doesn't agree with you, you shut down or overreact. That version of you is constantly on a leash, pulled around by the world, tossed back and forth like a puppet. The other version, calm, composed. Someone insults you and you don't even flinch. Someone tries to push your buttons and you give them nothing. Someone tries to bait you into drama and you walk away with your head high. That version of you is unshakable. People can't figure you out. They can't control you. They have no power over you. And because of that, they respect you. Even if they don't like you, they respect you. At the end of the day, emotional reactivity is self-betrayal. Every time you give someone a piece of your peace, you're giving away your power. You're telling them, here, you can control me. You can dictate how I feel, how I think, how I act, and you can't demand respect while being someone else's puppet. Respect is reserved for those who are in charge of themselves. The moment you master your reactivity, you become the kind of person others can't manipulate. And once you reach that point, you'll notice something powerful. People stop testing you. They stop trying to provoke you because they realize it's useless. You're untouchable. That's the power of emotional control. It's not just about keeping calm for the sake of appearances. It's about protecting yourself from manipulation. It's about being the one who decides how you think, how you act, how you move. And the truth is simple. When you stop being reactive, you stop being controlled. And that's when people start respecting you. Respect is not something you can demand. You can try, of course. You can raise your voice, pound the table, make threats, insist that people treat you a certain way. But deep down, you already know it doesn't work. People may comply out of fear for a moment, but compliance isn't respect. Real respect is earned. It's something people give to you willingly because they see something in you that deserves it. And what they respect most is self-mastery. Because if you can't master yourself, why should anyone believe you can handle anything greater? Every single one of us has the same battlefield, the battlefield within. It's the fight against our impulses, our temptations, our urges to react, to quit, to lash out, to give in. That's the real war, and most people lose it every single day. They lose it when they give in to laziness. They lose it when they let anger dictate their actions. They lose it when they know what's right but settle for what's easy. And the result is always the same. They live small, they live reactive, and they live without respect. Because nobody respects the person who can't even respect themselves enough to practice discipline. Think about it. If a leader can't control their own ego, how can they lead a team? If a parent can't control their temper, how can they guide their children? If a friend can't control their impulses, how can they be trusted when things get difficult? Self-mastery isn't just about controlling emotions. It's about proving to yourself and others that you have discipline, that you are stable, that you can be relied on. And that reliability, day after day, moment after moment, is where respect is built. You see, people don't admire talent nearly as much as they admire discipline. The world is full of talented people who never go anywhere. Talented athletes who waste their potential because they lack control. Brilliant minds who never accomplish anything because they can't master focus. Gifted individuals who ruin their own reputations because they can't govern their emotions. Talent might impress people for a moment, but discipline earns respect forever. That's why when you see someone who's calm in a crisis, consistent in their actions, and steady under pressure, something inside you recognizes it. You respect it because you know how hard it is. You know how much work it takes to stay composed when everything inside you wants to fall apart. And that's the difference between those who lead and those who follow. Leaders master themselves first, followers don't. Now, here's the problem. Most people chase external respect before they've even earned internal respect. They want the world to look at them as strong, capable, respectable. But behind closed doors, they can't even respect themselves. They break their own promises. They lose their temper. They take the easy way out. And then they wonder why no one takes them seriously. Respect starts with you. When you look in the mirror, do you respect the person looking back at you? Do you respect the way you handle pressure, the way you handle pain, the way you handle temptation? If the answer is no, don't expect anyone else to. Self-mastery is built in the small moments. It's not built in the big speeches or the grand displays. It's built when you decide not to argue back, even though you want to. It's built when you push through the workout, even when your body screams at you to quit. It's built when you control your tongue, when you calm your mind, when you refuse to let fear stop you. Every time you choose discipline over chaos, you add a brick to the foundation of respect. And over time, those bricks stack up into something unshakable. But here's the part most people miss. Respect is not about perfection. It's not about never making mistakes or never losing your composure. Everyone slips, everyone fails. But what earns respect is how you respond after. Do you learn? Do you grow? Do you get stronger? Or do you keep repeating the same patterns, blaming the world instead of mastering yourself? People notice. They may not say it to your face, but they notice. Respect comes when they see you consistently choosing mastery over excuses. Let me give you a picture. Imagine two people. One is brilliant, charismatic, and talented, but unpredictable. You never know what mood they'll be in. One day, they're inspiring. The next day, they're explosive. One moment, they're disciplined. The next, they're careless. Do you respect them? Maybe for a while. But eventually, their lack of control erodes that respect. Now picture the other person. They may not be the most talented. They may not even be the loudest in the room, but they're steady. You can rely on them. They're calm under pressure. They keep their word. They don't let emotions dictate their every move. Who do you respect more? Always the second, because consistency beats chaos every time. This is why self-mastery is the foundation of every kind of respect, personal respect, professional respect, even self-respect. It's the ability to govern yourself. when no one else is watching. It's the ability to hold the line even when it's hard. It's the ability to rise above impulses because you know those impulses, if left unchecked, will destroy you. And here's the truth. If you want to build influence, leadership, authority, if you want people to follow you, trust you, and respect you, it will never come from forcing it on them. It will only come when they see that you have mastered yourself. Because when you master yourself, you become someone rare. In a world full of emotional outbursts, you're calm. In a world full of inconsistency, you're steady. In a world full of people controlled by impulses, you're disciplined. And that difference, that contrast, is what makes people respect you. So the next time you think respect is about titles, status, money, or image, remember this: those things fade. Respect that lasts comes only from self-mastery. The person who cannot control themselves will never be respected. But the person who does, that person becomes unstoppable. Most people think power is loud. They think strength is shown in shouting, in proving a point, in making sure everyone knows exactly how they feel in the moment. They confuse volume with respect. But here's what most people never learn. Silence carries more power than any outburst ever could. The ability to sit and control, to hold back, to stay quiet when you could explode, that's what unnerves people. That's what commands attention. Because silence is strategy, and strategy always outlasts emotion. Think about the last time you saw someone lose their cool. Maybe it was a boss in a meeting, yelling and cursing at their team. Maybe it was someone online, responding to a comment with rage. Maybe it was a friend who blew up over something small. What happened in that moment? They thought they were showing strength, but what did everyone else see? Weakness, lack of control, insecurity spilling out for everyone to witness. Their outburst didn't make them powerful. It stripped them of authority, and yet the person who sits there, steady, calm, silent, unshaken, that's the one who makes people nervous, because you can't read them. You don't know what they're thinking. You can't predict their next move. That mystery, that restraint, that's respect. See, outbursts reveal your cards. They show everyone exactly what triggers you, exactly where you're weak, exactly how to push you. But silence hides your hand. It leaves people guessing. It forces them to respect you, or at the very least, to tread carefully around you. Because when they can't figure you out, they can't control you. And when they can't control you, they have to respect you. Now, silence doesn't mean passivity. It doesn't mean you let people walk all over you. It doesn't mean you stay quiet forever. It means you choose your responses carefully. It means you don't waste your energy on battles that don't matter. You don't fight just to prove a point. You fight only when it's worth it. And when you do it on your terms. That's strategy. And strategy beats impulse every single time. Look at history. Look at leadership. Look at warfare. Strategy wins, not chaos. The strongest generals weren't the ones who ran into battle blind with fury. They were the ones who observed, who waited, who chose their moment with precision. That's how wars are won. And the same principle applies to life. You don't earn respect by showing you can blow up at every insult or every challenge. You earn respect by showing restraint, by being deliberate, by choosing wisely when to act and when to hold your silence. Let me paint a picture. Imagine you're in a heated argument. The other person is yelling, throwing insults, trying to provoke you. Everything in you wants to snap back, to defend yourself, to match their energy. But instead, you stay calm, you listen, you wait, you don't give them what they want. What happens? They look unhinged, they look out of control. And you look powerful, you look in command. That silence becomes louder than any word you could have shouted. This is why silence is so feared, because it's rare. Most people are slaves to their emotions. They react instantly. They can't stand the discomfort of holding back. But the ones who master silence, they stand apart. They intimidate without even trying, because people know they can't be baited, they can't be manipulated, and they won't waste their energy on nonsense. They only move when it matters. And when they do, everyone pays attention. Think of the last time you had someone argue with you, and you didn't respond the way they expected. Maybe you stayed calm, maybe you just smiled, Maybe you walked away without giving them the reaction they wanted. What happened? They got even more frustrated. They lost their grip. That's the beauty of silence. It disarms people. Outbursts escalate conflict. Silence kills it. Outbursts give away power. Silence multiplies it. But here's the thing, silence isn't easy. It requires incredible discipline. It requires swallowing your pride, resisting the urge to defend yourself, resisting the temptation to win in the moment. That's why so few people master it. But those who do, they gain respect on a level that outbursts could never achieve. Because silence proves something outbursts never can. It proves you are in control. Now, let me ask you this. Who do you respect more? The person who explodes every time something doesn't go their way, or the one who stays calm, chooses their words carefully, and only speaks when it matters? Always the second. Because you can trust them, you can rely on them, they won't collapse under pressure. They won't embarrass themselves or you in a moment of weakness. That's why leaders, real leaders, understand the power of silence and strategy. Even in personal relationships, silence is stronger than outburst. How many times do fights spiral out of control simply because both people keep reacting louder and louder until nothing gets solved? But when one person stays calm, refuses to escalate, and instead chooses their response with intention, the entire dynamic shifts. Respect is maintained. The conflict doesn't control them, they control the conflict. And here's the most important part, silence and strategy. Protect your energy. You only have so much in a day. If you waste it on petty arguments, meaningless conflicts, unnecessary outbursts, you drain yourself dry. But if you hold back, if you save your energy for the battles that actually matter, you stay strong, you stay focused, you stay powerful, and that's why people respect you, because they see that you don't get caught up in the noise. You rise above it. Respect doesn't come from being reactive. It doesn't come from shouting the loudest or proving yourself in every small fight. It comes from knowing when to stay silent, when to observe, when to let others unravel, and when to move with precision. Because when you do finally speak, when you do finally act, it carries weight. People listen, people notice, people respect it. So the next time you feel that urge to explode, to react, to prove yourself in the moment, remember this: silence is not weakness. Silence is power. Outbursts are easy. Strategy is hard. And that's why strategy wins. That's why silence commands respect in ways rage never will. Your future is not shaped by what happens to you. It's not shaped by luck, by chance, or by the people around you. Your future is shaped by the choices you make in the heat of the moment. And the truth is, most of those choices are dictated by your emotions. Every decision you've ever made, good or bad, was influenced by how you felt in that moment. Which means this: if you can't control your emotions, you can't control your future. But if you learn to master them, you hold the pen that writes the story of your life. Think about all the people who have ruined everything in one moment of emotional weakness. The athlete who threw a punch and ended their career. The professional who lost their temper at work and got fired. The partner who said something cruel in a fight and destroyed a relationship they cared about. One emotional outburst, one moment of weakness, and the damage can last years. That's the danger of living without control. Your entire future can be altered by a single reaction you couldn't keep in check. But let's flip it. Think about the people who succeed long term. They're not perfect. They're not emotionless. They get angry. They feel fear. They experience doubt just like everyone else. The difference is they don't let those emotions dictate their choices. They know how to pause, how to breathe, how to think before they act. They know that decisions made in anger or fear almost always lead to regret. They play the long game, not the short one. And because of that, they build lives of consistency, stability, and respect. When you control your emotions, you control your patterns, and your patterns are what shape your destiny. A person who lets anger guide them will always create conflict. A person who lets fear guide them will always miss opportunities. A person who lets envy guide them will always sabotage themselves. But a person who controls these emotions, who takes anger and turns it into fuel, who takes fear and turns it into courage, who takes envy and turns it into motivation, that person shapes a future of growth instead of destruction. The scary part is most people don't realize how much their emotions are steering their lives. They think they're making rational decisions, but in reality, they're being pulled by impulses they haven't mastered. They quit jobs too soon because frustration got the better of them. They ruin relationships because pride was louder than love. They stay stuck because fear whispered in their ear and they listened. And years later, they look back at their lives full of regret, wondering where it all went wrong. But the truth is simple. It went wrong every time they let an emotion make a choice their logic should have made. Here's what people respect. Stability. People respect the man or woman who can be trusted to think clearly even when things get hard. The one who doesn't crumble under pressure, who doesn't make reckless decisions when emotions run high. That's the kind of person people follow. That's the kind of person people believe in. Because if you can control yourself, you can be trusted to handle greater responsibility. But if you can't even control your own emotions, no one is going to trust you with their future, their money, their business, or their heart. And this is bigger than just respect. This is about legacy. Every choice you make today is carving out the path you'll walk tomorrow. And your emotions are the most powerful influence on those choices. If you let them run wild, your future will be chaotic. But if you master them, your future becomes intentional. You're no longer reacting to life. You're directing it. You're no longer being pulled by every wave. You're steering the ship. And the respect that comes with that, it's not just from others, it's from yourself. Because here's the truth, you will never fully respect yourself until you learn to master yourself. You can achieve success, you can make money, you can build status, but if deep down you know you're still controlled by your impulses, you'll always feel a little weak inside. But when you reach the point where you know nothing, and no one can easily pull you off track, something shifts. You stand taller, you feel stronger, you carry yourself differently. Because you know you're in control. And that self-respect radiates outward. People sense it, they feel it, and they respond to it with respect of their own. Now imagine a future where nothing rattles you, where criticism doesn't stop you, where failure doesn't define you, where emotions don't sabotage you, but instead serve you. Imagine the power of living that way. Not reactive, but deliberate. Not chaotic, but calm. That's the kind of future that belongs to people who control their emotions. It's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. It's about choosing strength over weakness, restraint over impulse, and clarity over chaos. Every time you control an emotion, instead of letting it control you, you invest in your future. You invest in stronger relationships because you don't let anger or pride ruin them. You invest in your career because you make thoughtful decisions instead of reckless ones. You invest in yourself because you build discipline that compounds over time. And eventually, those investments add up into a life that people admire, trust, and respect. So ask yourself, what kind of future do you want? One that's dictated by every fleeting emotion that crosses your mind, or one that's built on strength, clarity, and control? The answer will determine everything, because respect isn't given to the one who reacts, it's given to the one who governs. And if you want a future that's strong, stable, and respected, there's only one path. Control your emotions, and you will control your life. So here's the truth. Respect isn't about what you demand from others, it's about what you command from within yourself. And everything we've talked about today comes down to this. If you can't control your emotions, you will always be controlled by them. You'll be predictable. You'll be weak. You'll be easy to manipulate, easy to dismiss, and easy to disrespect. But when you master yourself, when you learn to take that fire inside of you and direct it instead of letting it consume you, you become untouchable. People can't shake you. They can't break you. They can't control you. They have no choice but to respect you because self-mastery is rare. And what is rare is always valuable. Life is going to test you. People will provoke you, circumstances will push you, emotions will rise up like waves, trying to knock you over. And in those moments, you will have a choice. Do you give in or do you stand tall? Do you let the storm control you or do you become the calm in the middle of it? That choice right there will decide the kind of life you build and the respect you carry with you. The loudest person in the room isn't the strongest. The angriest person isn't the most powerful. The one who gets the last word doesn't always win. The one who wins, the one who's remembered, the one who's respected, is the one who controls themselves when no one else can. So the challenge I leave with you is this. Make a decision today to master yourself. Don't let emotions dictate your words, your actions, your future. Use them, channel them, control them. Because once you do, you won't have to chase respect. It will follow you everywhere you go. And remember this, anyone can lose control, but very few can hold it. Be one of the few. Be the one who rises above. Because respect isn't given to those who react. It's given to those who lead themselves first.